Again, for folks that are joining us, we'll be getting started in another minute or so. Okay. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time today. I will be leading today's discussion, but we will have plenty of time for your input and for conversation. And as a refresher, this is a residential stakeholder meeting for the Wasteless Colorado Springs project, where we're looking at a plan to increase overall waste aversion and diversion in the city, and what residents, such as you all, would like to see incorporated in this plan, and how we can meet your interests and your needs. Next slide. To briefly introduce myself, I'm Corey Ann Mansell. I'm a consultant with Resource Recycling Systems, which is subcontracted to support this work with the city of Colorado Springs. And I'll mention in the next slide a little bit more about who we are and how we're supporting this project. But in the meantime, I'll also ask yours to jump in.
Thank you, Corey. Hi, everyone. My name is Joris Egerdas. I'm an analyst with Resource Recycling Systems. And again, just want to reiterate what Corey said in terms of thanking you all for attending today. Your input's going to be really invaluable for us as we develop this plan and recommendations for the city. Yeah, back to you, Corey.
Great. And also, both Joris and myself are, although we're hosting this meeting virtually, we are based in Colorado, and we're very excited to support the Colorado Springs project. Next slide. So Resource Recycling Systems was invited to support this project because we have a breadth of expertise in terms of sustainable materials management. We work with states, cities, and municipalities across the country, addressing their own waste diversion goals, leading compost feasibility studies, looking at material recovery facilities and how they can be optimized, really bringing that expertise to this project. And then the team here is based locally, and that's where we're also bringing that local lens to what infrastructure is in place in Colorado and in the region, and how Colorado Springs can be engaged in those activities. Here is a brief agenda. So we will go through some refreshers, as considering we are all attending virtually. I'll talk a little bit more about the project background, and then we'll be going through a poll EV that will be requesting your engagement and your input. And so we will have a practice slide to get everyone familiar with poll EV and make sure folks aren't having trouble there. But that will be the key greater component of this meeting, where we really want your input and your engagement. We did start the recording earlier on in this meeting. so we will have it as recorded. We appreciate you staying on mute until there's opportunities to speak and ask questions. Please use that raise hand feature so that we can engage you and invite your question or comment. And then also we'll have that poll EV, as I mentioned, and we'll have a practice slide there to make sure everyone can utilize its function. We don't have time necessarily to go through each person today and for introductions, but we do have the chat feature and would really appreciate if you could jump in the chat, introduce yourself, your name, and then why you decided to join today. I'll really appreciate if you could do that while I go through the next slides. So again, feel free to put your name and why you're attending today's meeting in the chat. What is the goal of this meeting? So we want to share our updates on the Wasteless Colorado project, what the intention and the goal of that project is, then to collect feedback on those strategies for addressing gaps in recycling and compost collection in the city, and then also have some conversation around where there might be new ideas or opportunities to increase overall waste aversion and diversion in the city. So project aims and backgrounds. To get us started, we also want to go through the terms and of the project that I might be referencing throughout the next several slides. So waste diversion, we're talking about the all-encompassing reduce, reuse, recycle in this lens. So yes, of course, there's traditional recycling and composting that we do want to support and will be a component of the strategies, but we also invite strategies that look towards recovery of edible surplus or the reuse of bulky furniture, and those tactics for waste diversion. Then recycling, that's turning those materials like plastic, glass, metal into new products to reduce waste. Then we have composting, which is turning organic waste into a rich soil amendment. Organic waste includes food scraps and yard trimmings. So sometimes we parse out those two subject matters because yes, they can be combined for co-collection, but there are also opportunities to start with yard waste collection or yard waste drop-off and then phase in more all-encompassing organics that include meat, dairy, produce, etc. for comprehensive composting. And then contamination, that's those items that end up in the recycling bin or the food scraps or organics collection bins that really are not intended for that collection stream. So an example here is maybe a plastic container in a organics collection bin or a piece of clothing in a traditional single stream recycling bin. So what led into this project? So the city received funding from the Colorado Circular Communities Enterprise Fund for this project. And the intention was to understand the current waste management composition and processes. So I'll talk a little bit more about waste characterizations and what we're finding in the trash and recycling, and then utilize that data as well as the feedback from the stakeholder meetings to develop a waste reduction action plan. And then this all supports the Front Range waste diversion goals of diverting at least 39% of waste by 2026 and 51% by 2036. And the city of Colorado Springs engaged resource recycling systems to support and facilitate this process, looking and applying our waste expertise, our materials management scope to the city and leveraging case studies, success stories from other peer cities across the country and our lens on what is effective in terms of recycling and waste diversion. So field inspections, the starting point for this project, we went out and we observed over 280 households for trash and recycling collection carts from different waste haulers to measure household waste production and identify trends in contamination. So here we went went door to door, if you will, neighborhood to neighborhood, and looked at the bins that were placed out on the curb to see if folks had a recycling as well as a trash container. When we peeked into the recycling bin, if we saw any contamination on that upper level, on top of the cart, and also kind of referencing where haulers are currently collecting trash and recycling across the city, and kind of that scope of where one hauler might be servicing a neighborhood versus another in another area. So the key takeaways from this initial route and initial task was we did observe that there are 8 waste haulers servicing the area, which can have an impact on overall air quality, noise, road wear and tear. This is because we're going down one street and seeing several waste haulers that are servicing those homes. And then recycling collection services did vary by hauler. So this includes the collection frequency, if it was once a week or every other week, to the cart size that was offered for recycling. And the household, based on the bins that were placed on the curb and weighed, the household waste generation is very similar to other communities in the region of about 15 to 40 pounds of trash per week. We did see that trash did have visible items that could be recycled. And then also in those recycling bins, about almost a third had visible contamination, again, just from that initial peak from opening the lid. And no organics recycling carts were found, and yard debris was commonly found in both the trash and recycling carts. And so when we reference organics, we didn't see any specific food scraps collection containers or yard waste containers. Next phase of the project included waste characterization. So we conducted 2 waste sorts of the trash and recycling streams in both the spring and the fall for both residential and commercial sectors. The intention here was to sort the material that was coming in and being collected based on the material type. So cardboard with cardboard, plastic bottles with plastic bottles, film plastics with film plastics, etc. And so we had, as you can see here in the image, bins set up and buckets set up around that waste sorting station that we parsed out to identify trends. And the key takeaways from the trash stream is about 22% of the items in the trash stream could be recycled in current residential recycling programs. So we know that there will be potential changes with the implementation of the extended producer responsibility program. But as of today, we did see about 20% in the trash stream that could be recycled. And then we also saw quite a large percent of food scraps in the residential trash stream as well. And then also, in addition to that, specific yard debris. So yard debris, leaves, twigs, etc. So here you can see in the pie chart, there in the trash composition, yes, there was 40% roughly that is designated as trash. 22% were recyclables, and then about 30% was organic material, which is very common in overall trash characterizations across the country. And there are national EPA and USDA goals to reduce that 30% threshold as well. And then looking at the recycling stream. So cardboard was the most common material in the residential recycling stream, and then there was a contamination of about 14%. And so here there's opportunities to reduce that contamination and increase overall recycling, because once there's contamination, it makes it more costly to segregate or to separate for clean recycling. The next phase of the project also included engaging city staff and waste industry members, researching waste management policies and reviewing practices implemented by other cities across the country and in the state that could be applied to the city based on current infrastructure capacity, infrastructure availability, interest of our local players, and how we can integrate that into our overall recommendations in the plan. So some key takeaways. One is that currently the city does not have broad access to compost collection services, and compost collection services mostly focuses around food scraps, but does also include yard debris. There are no rules requiring residents to recycle. There are recycling services that are available, but that doesn't mean that the residents don't always partake in this practice. It's also important to, and one question that came in the comment and clarification, yes, there are compost services for residents in the city, but it's not broad. Currently there's not broad access to those services for all residents across the city. There's a need for increasing education and outreach around the recyclables that are ending up in the trash, and then also increasing that trust and support for our recycling streams and where those products end up. And we also, in talking about service providers, and when I say service providers, that can be haulers, material recovery facilities, compost haulers, and businesses, have all indicated that they are interested in working with the city to help increase recycling. And then we did some projections, and if all strategies and operations were to stay the same, that would mean that the city will divert about 16% of its waste in 2045. Okay, so now to the phase of our meeting where we are going to be looking for your feedback. I will pause here while folks familiarize themselves with the poll. So here you can open your browser tab or your mobile device, type in the address bar, pollev.com, recycle123, enter your first name, and then we'll go through the poll questions. I'll pause here. Does anybody have questions about the project specifically, or is anybody having trouble with the poll, accessing the poll? Yours, are you able to see how many folks have joined the poll? If you can, it's fine.
I do not, but I do know the poll is live, so hopefully people are seeing a screen with a question already.
Sure. And then I'll put the website in the chat. So here we'll go to the next slide and we'll test out, and we should have about at least 20 respondents. Oh, well, can you see number of respondents, yours? So here the question is, which recycling services do you currently participate in? This is more of a feeder question, an opportunity to test out the PolEV feature and see if there are any challenges accessing it. All right, now's the time to let us know if you're having any challenges, you have any questions, difficulties about the pole EV feature. All right. If anything comes up, feel free to pop your question into the chat or raise your hand and we'll be sure to address anything that comes up. So next slide, please. All right, so we're going to go through a few categories that help break down the strategies that we may be incorporating and are incorporating into the plan based on where the material interacts with the collection service along the way in its process. Here, I'll do a refresher when we're going through the pole EV. But here, when we're developing the plan, we're looking at a gap analysis. And so the gap analysis is where we're at today and the strategies that can be implemented in the future to increase waste aversion and diversion based on key case studies and success stories across the country, as well as the feedback from all of you. And so when we talk about collection and access, we're mostly referencing the ability for residents, for businesses, et cetera, to place their trash, recycling, or food scraps in a container that then is rolled to the curb and collected. Processing and facilities is where does that material go once collected, where it can become or it can be aggregated to then become other end products, which kind of jumps to the final component. Outreach and education, so increasing the awareness around recycling best practices, the contamination that's ending up in our waste stream, increasing participation and trust within our recycling systems. Supportive policy may be opportunities such as implementing tiered rate systems where you're incentivized as a resident to increase your recycling because your collection services are based on your trash volume of trash. And then robust end markets. So that connects to the processing and facilities where the material is processed or where it's collected, then developing those robust end markets where it's then sold and distributed. So an easier example or one that folks might be familiar with is when food scraps are processed for composting, and then where that finished soil amendment goes within the community. So utilized for gardens, construction projects, etc. That helps round that circle out. All right, so first we'll start off with collection and access. And so this is the impetus of ensuring that residents have easy access to good, effective recycling programs. All right, so here we have, do you recycle at home? This includes glass bottles, aluminum cans, cardboard, and then within this list, there's a why or why not. For any folks that just joined, we are conducting a poll EV to hear your responses. I will put the link in the chat for you to join as you're able to. When I'm Marty, if you would like to come off mute and clarify your question, is this list access supposed to be on poll EV?
Well, I'm not seeing it on the tab that has the poll EV, and of course I can't do anything on this screen. Yours is.
If you go to poll EV, then it should, if you enter your first name, and then the poll questions should show up as we're progressing through the slides.
It says on the poll EV screen responding is Marty W, but there's no content. No content is missing.
Maybe refresh the page.
Okay.
You know, that classic turn on, turn off the computer, unplug.
All right. Thank you.
Very tech savvy, you know? Thank you.
This is Ellen asking, I don't see any place when I, go to the website where it asks me to put in my name. It just gives me the questions. And it only allows me to say one yes. It doesn't allow me to say any other. And so I'm confused.
That's okay. For this one, we're only asking for one response. So which one is best suits your yes or no. And then in terms of name, that's okay. We're not
stakeholder number 788 or something like that.
That's a great number to be.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So I think we can move on to the next question, please. Oh, we may have skipped. Is that the next one? Okay, great. Thanks, yours. So what recycling programs do you want access to? So please select all that apply. So here you should be able to select multiple options: curbside recycling collection, drop-off locations for recycling, drop-off bins at places I already visit. So this is libraries, schools, community centers, recycling at work and business establishments, or other. And in terms of other, believe if you clicked other, it would be great if you could share your interest in the chat or off mute. For the folks that picked other, would you like to specify in the chat or off mute? That would be really helpful for us.
So this is Ellen again. I already do get recycling collection, but it doesn't do food scraps, and it doesn't do yard. Well, they take my yard waste, and I don't know whether it goes to recycling or whether it goes to someplace else. But they'll take it if we fill up a garbage can, but I don't know where they're taking it. But I really want food waste. Other cities have that, and it's a way. I mean, I do my own composting, but I don't have commercial composting. So I want composting. I don't want just recycling. Now, where do you want me to put that, or can you just take?
We're taking notes. Yep. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, because I know Denver and I know the Boulder area all do commercial composting, which would be very helpful here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay.
And then also in terms of folks with the questions in the chat, it's understandable that right now curbside recycling collection can be offered to residents, but we did want to include that here just to showcase that, yes, it's still of interest. We still want curbside recycling, of course, to be accessible. So I'm seeing in the chat, I'm not going to go line by line, but yard waste and food waste programming, as Ellen also noted, and then so other hard to recycle items for drop off sounds great, and composting certainly comes up quite a bit. So thank you. Next slide. Oh, is this? Yes. So what challenges or obstacles do you have or anticipate having if you had to sort your recyclables separately from the rest of your trash at home. So here is, if you currently have a recycling program, what challenges do you have when you're thinking about your trash and recycling bin? A uncertainty about what to recycle, or if you don't have a recycling program, what is the impetus for that? Is there lack of space, or just don't really have enough time in the day to sort those materials? That is the intention of this question.
The state is making them do more about recycling and stuff in the state. So Colorado Springs is asking for feedback, and they were doing this meeting. So
the entity that says Spring Leak, we are hearing you, and yes, we are asking for feedback from Colorado Springs residents. Thank you. Again, I asked a similar process for other. If you can jump in and let us know, or prompt in the chat what other obstacles or challenges you're facing. We have about half of the folks responding so far. So if you have not already, great if you could do so. If you're not facing obstacles, that's great. Then we can count those as responses and move on. So another 30 seconds or so. All right, I believe we can move on. Do you currently compost food scraps or yard waste at home? And so when we say at home, this is the all-encompassing. If you're composting your scraps or yard waste in the backyard, you're participating in a drop-off program, or utilizing services as food to power for curbside collection. And again, we're asking for the best option for why or why not. For folks responding with other, can you please share in the chat or off mute? If you do or do not, what the barrier is, or what the yes might include. Worms, a very cool composting process. All right, I'm going to keep us moving along. So which organic waste recycling programs do you want access to? Curbside collection of food waste, curbside collection of yard waste, bring either to a drop-off location, or how to recycle at home, or compost at home, excuse me. And in this case, you can answer multiple. All righty. Looks like we don't have any other. And I'm going to keep us moving along then. So do you currently recycle or safely dispose of household hazardous waste? So this means paints, pesticides, motor oil, that should not be placed in your trash or recycling bin. And then here, please select one option for yes or no. Alrighty, I'm going to keep us moving along then. Next question. What additional household hazardous waste programs would you like access to? So again, you can select all that apply. So this is one option A is providing curbside pickup, additional drop-off locations, take-back programs. So this is where you can mail in certain items or other, and then I would ask the same for you to put in the chat or come off mute if you have other ideas. All right. I'm going to assume that we can move forward. Thank you. Correct, we did include galvanized recycling as an option in our plan. It has come up.
Yeah, they are a little costly. I saw someone who wrote in about the expense of additional services. It really adds up. But traveling out far east to travel, in one recycling place in the city is also absurd.
Yep.
So
yep,
we need more.
Certainly poses a barrier for sure.
Yeah.
Distance to travel and cost.
Oh, yeah, Marty wrote that. Thank you.
And this is for Colorado Springs, correct? Next. So now we're going to we have one question in terms of processing. And so that's where material recovery facilities or compost sites have the capacity to handle the recyclables or the yard debris. And so this question, we have a series of questions more so for service providers with this lens, but here we do have one question for residents. And so here we go through the sort of non-traditional recyclables. That's textiles, construction materials, white goods, some refrigerators, bulky items, electronics, batteries, and which do folks think it's most important to have programs in place to recycle them effectively. And you can choose multiple options. Yeah, thank you, Dustin. Exactly. There's plenty of opportunities. We're getting batteries and other items out of the trash to increase safety and other environmental concerns. All right. Believe folks have had enough time here, so we'll keep moving forward. outreach and education. So this focuses on how we can share and distribute information about recycling, whether it's the materials that should be going into the proper containers, or where the material is going, how you would like to receive this information, in what ways, etc. Here, what types of materials do you often have confusion about when you're placing that material in the recycling or composting bin? So here, glass, plastic, cardboard, paper, textiles, where should it go? Food scraps, where should they go? Kind of looking at, where should I put these materials? In the trash, recycling, food scraps bin, somewhere else. Styrofoam. All right, I think we can keep moving on. So when you're reflecting on where, or if you have questions about your trash or recycling, where do you go when you have questions? Do you go to the county resources, city resources, waste hauler, community groups, or other places? And if you noted other, again, if you could share in the chat or off mute, where do you go when you have these questions about trash or recycling? Online, fair enough. Any other places? All right, I'll give it another 30 seconds or so. All right, not seeing numbers move anymore, so we can keep moving. How do you prefer to receive information on recycling or trash? Please rank the options from highest to lowest. And so would you like social media, websites, flyers, mailers, direct in person, or other? And then this is a ranking question. So where you're most likely to receive information or prefer information to be received, and to least used or utilized.
So I don't understand how we rank these.
In terms of how to do it online?
Well, it says rank from highest to lowest. Move arrows up and down to move. Okay, so if I don't like that. But it just, I could, so I just put an arrow in there?
So you click on the arrow to move it up or down, and then the top will be the most preferential to the bottom is least preferential.
Oh,
so yeah. I think if you click
okay.
the
If I say move up, it didn't move. Oh, I see. It did move up.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then, okay, I can do that, and then I move it down. Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Immediately clear exactly.
Sure.
That. Okay.
Thank you for any folks that mentioned other. Appreciate if you could put that in the chat, what you're thinking in terms of preference. So we have email or text message, which is great.
Okay, I would do the same thing. Yeah. Go back to the Zoom.
Have another 30 seconds to a minute here. Appreciate everyone's time.
Okay.
All set? All right. So onwards.
A lot.
There are only a few more, and then there will be a few open-ended and time for questions. So what additional resources would help you and others participate more effectively in waste diversion programs? So it's very similar to the last question. The last question is more general, collection times, recycling materials, or yes, no items that should go in your recycling cart. And here is more thinking more broadly of how we can get more folks involved in waste diversion programs. So how we can get more folks engaged with recycling programs. And here we have also a ranking exercise. We have just a few number of responses here, so I'm going to wait another minute or so to hopefully folks, if you can jump in and rank these options, that would be great. Financial incentives, thank you. All right, folks, another 30 seconds or so. And bear with us, we only have 3 questions left. Okay, onwards. So supportive policies. These are policies that the city can implement to help standardize material recovery and recycling programs across the state. There are a couple of different options here, but we will only be asking about one today. So here are 2 waste management scenarios. Open market is when the resident chooses a collection service. And in this case, there may be non-standardized recycling practices. So yes, no items might differ, collection times might differ, pricing might differ. There are differences here because you as a resident are kind of selecting that collection service, which may be different from your neighbor next door. And so here, yes, you do have autonomy in what you would like to select, but that also might lead to increased trust. It does lead to increased truck access down your streets if there are 3 haulers or collection services servicing one street, for example. Single hauler, this is an option where the city may contract with a waste hauler that could subcontract for additional services. And this is to provide uniform pricing and uniform items that can and cannot be recycled to help standardize this collection service available in the city. And single hauler is also about recycling because this also can lead, so the city usually contracts out to say that trash and recycling will be collected from residents. And in this case, there are service providers that bid on that contract, and then the city goes through a negotiation process. Okay, we will, seems as though we have the majority in responding to this question. And this is, just a scenario, nothing definitive, but something that we can report to the city as we collected this feedback. Next slide. So here, the next 2 slides are open-ended where you can type in your responses. What barriers stand in the way of increasing recycling and diversion in Colorado Springs? So here it's open-ended. Please feel free to list your barriers, and you can also put multiple responses. And here we'll see them percolate in. All right. And at this point, I'm going to keep us moving along. And one more question. And then the next question is, what else can Colorado Springs to help increase waste diversion and advance the circular economy? The circular economy, of course, has a particular definition, but here it's kind of the all-encompassing reduce, reuse, recycle, and what can Colorado Springs do to help increase these activities? All right. We only have a couple more couple more minutes on our meeting. So I believe you can keep responding even if we progress to the next slide. Yes. So here, in talking about the next steps, so I did review the field inspections that we completed, the waste composition study, an evaluation of the system in place, and case studies and success stories from across the country. We're in process of engaging stakeholders. There will be another residential focused meeting next week, and also there will be a survey that goes out to all residents to encourage and invite their participation moving forward. And then we're also developing that waste diversion action plan as we speak. So feeding in the earlier stages of the project, and then also ensuring that we're leaning on the insights and your input from both the stakeholder meetings and the survey. So that survey will be distributed through online resources and other ways that folks receive information in the city. And if you do receive that, please share it with your networks. We really appreciate that additional touch point. All right. We only have about 2 minutes for questions. I want to be respectful of folks' time, but if there's anything folks would like to bring up quickly, we can do so. Correct. This is not about making decisions today. This is only one step in inviting your input that we'll be referencing in the plan, and that survey will also be another opportunity.
Okay, I just want to say thank you. I'm really grateful to see this opportunity. And I do want to, for me, the most important thing is to help have the city make this as a priority. It's helpful, it's all about the environment. And I appreciate the people who thought, well, we all should have choices. That's not helping with cost or options or anything. The city should take responsibility for requiring haulers to all have the same standards and to make it easier for people. And I really like, I said I wanted one hauler. I agree. I don't really trust the city to choose the best hauler, but at least have the hauling companies divide the city up into reasonable areas, because right now these multiple trucks, we have like 10 trucks coming up our alley, and the alley, every time it rains, the alley gets torn up. People have problems with their cars, very expensive repairs, and to say nothing about all the potholes all over the city from all these multiple trucks. So I appreciate our, desiring choice, but we really need to let that go for the well-being of our city. So thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And,
thank you for participating today. And thank you to all of you
really
for
glad.
participating. Really, exactly. We want to help outline options for the city to increase waste aversion that reflects the residential interest.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Take off now too.
Yep.
Appreciate
Everyone.
everybody's participation. That's great.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.